I'm going to be taking you through like real, fresh, up-to-date information. So stuff that you need to be looking at before you even start using LinkedIn, before you even start considering running webinars. I'm also going to be talking to you about the stuff that you really need to focus in on, like that is going to make the biggest difference to you right now. Okay, so if I'm going to close this through here, and the information that I've gathered, just so you know, I can't see the chat box right now. So if you're talking to me, I can't quite see everything that's going through. But I spend a lot of my time speaking to business owners at this current point in time who are struggling with social. So I offer one-to-one calls. I'm going to be giving you the chance to speak to me at the end of this session today as well. But I speak to businesses every single day, all around helping them generate more money online. So digitally, taking their services online, utilizing social media, running workshops, etc., etc. And what I've noticed is that there are a number of key reasons why people struggle when it comes to generating sales, and that there are 5 that I'm seeing most commonly right now, and these haven't changed in the last couple of months. So very, very fresh for Q4 right now. And what I want you to do as I bring these up is let me know which ones most resonate with you, because this session has been built around these 5 things. And depending on your answer, I will spend more time on each of the relevant sections, depending on the majority. Now, the first key reason why people struggle is that when it comes to being active online, they fail to understand, and I hate talking about the algorithm because actually it changes quite frequently. So what I want you to think about when I say the word algorithm is actually how people behave online. What I've noticed is that most people utilize social, and also when they're running workshops and anything like that, as a bit of a tick box exercise. They may be building their network online. They may be posting content online. They may be running webinars and workshops, but they fail to understand people's behaviors when it comes to what makes people react, what makes people engage, what makes people respond, what makes people book a call in, what makes people buy. And therefore, what happens is they get very little responses and success when it comes from social media. That's number 1, not understanding what makes people tick when it comes to social. The second reason is that they have a mindset of, I'm going to use social media to sell what it is that I do. And that isn't so much as a huge problem, more the fact, again, that links to point number 1, actually. And it's the fact that people aren't typically on social media to buy anything. And so you've got to understand the mindset that they're in. And that's a big reason why people struggle. They tried to sell too early on in their marketing and sales journey. Something I see all the time. Number 3 is something that I see a lot, is that, and I'm going to ask the question now, actually, who's currently building their network on LinkedIn? So going out and pressing the connect button, you can normally send between 100 and 200 network connection requests every single week. Who's currently doing it? So you can see the answers as they come in the chat box there. So Joe is, Claire is, Rod is. So people are actively doing it. The issue that I then find is that the way that you're building your target market is they then aren't engaging with you. They're not responding to you because you're not currently sure on how to get their attention. So again, these 3 kind of interlink and are all equally as important as each other. And number 4 is the thing that I'm going to be talking to you about today, which actually I believe makes the biggest difference, is that they don't have a predictable and sustainable process that takes some form of stranger, a customer that doesn't know who you are, a person that doesn't know who you are right now, to the point where they're almost begging to buy from you. And that's what I think is the most important thing to realize here, is that I think a lot of people that are in business now, whether you're in a sales position, marketing position, you're a founder, a consultant, whatever, we've all been in a position where, I hope anyway, because it's a really great position to be in, where you've got someone on the other end of the line. And give me a yes or a no in the chat if you've had this before, because I'm keen to know. Because again, for me, it's amazing when it happens. Someone on the other end of a call or on the other end of the transaction where they want to buy from you, like they want to know how to work with you. Has anyone been in that position before? That feeling where it's like, oh, well, this is great. Like, I've finally got someone that actually understands what I'm doing and actually wants to go through. We want that more and more and more and more and more. And unfortunately, without that predictable and sustainable process, you just don't get that consistently enough. You may get the odd referral, right? You may get the odd one that comes through, but it's not every week, it's not every month. And therefore, you need to make sure that that process is like airtight. Susan's had an amazing result there, got 9 new customers through, incredible result. That typically comes from a piece of activity that you've done that's linked to a process, I found. But if you don't have one, how many more customers could you get? And that then links into point number 5, is that without the knowledge of all of those things, turning that connection to a follower into a lead and then a customer becomes difficult. And it's the knowledge gap. And therefore, what I want to know from you, if you were to pick a number, it could be all of them, it could be a couple of them, it could be one of them. If you're going to pick a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and which one most resonates with you right now, which one is it? Which one is holding you back, do you believe? Anita said a bit about all of them, which is fine. Rod is a 1. We've got Claire that's a 4. Claire is all, I think, which is totally fine. Well, either way, right, we've got 60 of you online. It keeps growing by the minute at this current point in time. So we will see more answers as they come through. But from those answers there, we have a bit of a mixture between 1, 3, and 5, which 4 is covered anyway in a lot of detail, which is perfect. Now, this session is broken into 3 specific parts. Part 1 is about the work that you need to do before really social is going to work for you. So really, really important. And the bit that I find people don't spend enough time on. So I want to share with you on the stuff that we recommend you spending time on to see the impact on social that you want, because the opportunity is massive. Then I'm going to talk to you about how do you connect with your audience? How do you build it? And then I'm going to take you through how do you convert it? And that's where I'm going to be talking to you about webinars and workshops in the way that I mentioned at the beginning. Now, I'm not like lots of presenters out there that will give you a long story of who they are and what they do. That's not who I am. Like, my job on here, I just want to just offer and share with you as much as I can, because it helps position me further, right? The more value I add, the more value comes back to me. It's been my principle since I started in business, and it's the thing that I'm never, ever going to turn my back on. I'm going to keep offering as much as I possibly can online, because that then helps us grow even faster. But the numbers, the stats are there. I have documented my journey online right from the beginning. 4.5 years ago, I started. I had a property business, I then had an Instagram business, and now I have a social media consultancy. Like, socialselling.co.uk is a website that we are actively building. The Social Selling Suite is a product that we're building that's helping people position themselves to make more money in their business. That is what we're doing. We've worked with over 1,300 different businesses now. And what I'm helping them do, along with my awesome team, which I'll introduce you to a little bit later on, is share the results and how we've got them. And we've worked in pretty much every industry now. If you're interested in following along our journey, my only real ask for you is to come and follow me, come and have a look at what we do. That QR code there, if you scan it, or if you just type in Chris Taylor social, like online, like on LinkedIn, you'll find me. But come and follow me. I have a list of about 150 people that I've got to do this for anyway, but I give feedback like for free, just on people's profiles, on their content, for anybody that follows me. It's like my gift. It's my way of, 1, building my audience up, but 2, also offering value back. So if you scan that QR code, just drop me a message, right? Just say like you attended today's webinar, and I'll add you to the list where you'll get like some free advice back. I'll give you some content advice or some profile advice in a bit of a reciprocal value exchange. Let's call it that. So I guess a big question to answer before I get cracking with all of this is why I've decided to run this workshop, this one around LinkedIn, this one around webinars. Like, why have I decided to run it? Now, the answer is relatively simple. Over the last just 2 months on its own, it's probably closer to 3 months now, I reckon I have spoken to, it's way over 100, it's probably over 200 now. I average around about 3 to 4 calls a day currently with different businesses, whether that's clients, whether that is customers, whether that is prospects, whether it's just free calls and coffee chats, lots and lots of people. And all of them have told me similar stories. Now, you may or may not relate to these, which is totally fine, where they have been told that they can generate leads from LinkedIn, right? And for those of you that are running workshops right now, I'm curious, I've got 2 questions. Number 1, have you ran a workshop or a webinar before? Just let me know. Put a number 1 in the chat if you've ran a webinar before. Just curious to know before I go into the detail of this. If those of you that haven't, put a number 2. The second question, which I'll wait for the answers to come through. So there's lots of people that haven't. It looks like a 50-50 split, actually, which is cool. The second one is, I want to know if you're active on LinkedIn or not. So if you're active on LinkedIn, put the number 3. If you're not active on LinkedIn, put the number 4. Just so I can kind of see where you're at. Okay, so lots of 3s, couple of 4s coming through. Now, I love LinkedIn. It's been an amazing platform for me. It's not the only platform I work on, though. So I have a following on Instagram of over 30,000 people now. I have an email list, which is, I think, just coming up to 10,000 people now. That's got a newsletter that goes out every single month. I've got a Facebook group that's got a couple of thousand people. And so I've got a YouTube channel that's got 1,000 people on. Like, I'm visible in a lot of different places, and all of them work. My biggest nugget straight away for you is that all of these different platforms work. The issue is that people focus in on the wrong things. And this workshop today is about highlighting the things that I believe from the data that we've collected, you need to be doing to see the results. And I'm on LinkedIn just like you are, and I see lots of people giving loads of advice, which is great to read, but I don't find there's a lot of substance behind it. And so what I like to back it up with is just the sheer amount of evidence behind the advice that we give. And actually, it's very different to what other people are sharing right now. And people are trying to generate leads on LinkedIn, but not being able to get it. And again, with all of you that have said 3, I can imagine that you are putting time into creating content right now, right? You're building your networks like I've already asked you and you've said that you're doing. You may even be direct messaging, but the results you're getting, you're sitting there probably wondering why you're not getting the results that everyone else says that you should be getting. And I'm personally, this is like a personal thing, but my team are as well, fed up with people thinking that social media platforms don't work. The reason it doesn't work is purely because of the stuff that I'm going to be training you on today, but it's because they are doing things with unrealistic expectations. And I'm going to be sharing that with you, but it's the same thing that I think Nick's on the workshop today. I think he's watching in, but this is the sort of stuff that we went through with Nick. And Nick is my business partner. He's mine and Sam's business partner in this company. And we met, I think, about 3.5, 4 years ago. He'll probably correct me on it. But Nick, I think Sam called him a social media dinosaur when they first met. Now, when I met Nick for the first time, he was active, but not active anywhere near as much as he is now. And when Nick was on the platform, when I first met him, he was kind of doing this sort of stuff. Has anyone seen these sorts of graphics? Give me a yes in the chat. Have you seen these sorts of graphics online? Some people with huge amounts of engagement, some people with next to none. For some reason, LinkedIn's become this motivational quote place for some reason, and people are copying it. And I'm sitting there and like, what you don't realize is the majority of people that are getting huge amounts of engagement on these posts are in engagement groups. So they're paying certain bits of software to then engage on their account for them. I know this because I've been a part of them. I've tested them. And what you need to realize is that this sort of content is not doing you any good. And this was the stuff that we went through with Nick. And so we made some changes, simple content changes, nothing like mind-blowing, nothing. We just started to showcase who Nick is online a little bit. And you can see the reactions went from 20 to 140. You do a bit more, you get 200. You do a bit more, you get 340. And Nick over and over and over again has grown his account quite significantly from 20-ish thousand when I first started like really talking to him to I think over 27,500 of what it is now. Growth comes when you become somebody that's worth following. And a part of what I'm going to be sharing with you today is how do you grow quicker? Like, how do you just not rely on sending connection requests out, but how do you get someone to request to connect with you? I think, Nick, you'll be able to share with everyone when you put out a good piece of content like that modern judgmental women's rights society, how many inbound connection requests do you typically get? I actually don't know the answer. I just remember some of the numbers that you've told me in the past. It's a large amount. And like with this, people don't see it and therefore they don't believe it happens. Nick got, I think he's put there 150 to 200 people will inbound connection requests or follow him. Some people can't even grow by 50 a week at the moment. And it's because you're just relying on the same old tactics that may have worked a couple of years ago. But now, if you wanted to grab attention, you need to do things slightly differently. And this is where clarity comes in, okay? This is where clarity is a huge, huge part to success online. And I've broken it down into 3 things that you need to look at. Part 1 is your identity, part 2 is in your target market, and part 3 is your offer. And with your identity, I realized very early on, okay, and this is a big, big kind of like revelation for me when I came onto this, that showing up online and ticking a box is not enough. Not when you're trying to grow in the way that you need to be able to get the results that you want. And it doesn't matter if you're after trying to sell to consumers or whether you're trying to sell to businesses. It doesn't matter who you're trying to target. Unless you understand how to position yourself and build up your identity properly and understand how you build up a following, your results online will be limited or like unpredictable. And so these are the certain things that I ask any person that I begin working with to go through. Like, do you understand why someone should follow you in the first place? Do you know what makes people tick? Do you know what makes people engage with you? And I'm going to ask you a question here. Does anybody know my business partner, Sam Raffling, top right-hand corner there? Does anyone know of Sam? Just give me a yes in the chat if you've heard of Sam before. Not everybody will have, but for those of you, there's lots of people here you can see that are saying yes. Now, I want to ask you a question because I'm not a LinkedIn expert, right? Never position myself as one. But do you know the reason why you would follow Sam? Could you give me for any of you on here, can you give me a reason why you may follow Sam? What is it that Sam showcases on her profile that makes her somebody worth following? Now, I want you to think about this. Joe Bridges already got it, right? Anne's already got it as well. LinkedIn expertise. She's positioned herself as a LinkedIn specialist. And it's so clear. You look at her account, she talks about it all the time, over and over and over and over again. And she's now just done it for long enough where she's one of the number one. She's definitely up there anyway, in the space with it. She's got a great following, very, very loyal following. She's worked with some of the biggest businesses on the planet. But she's done that because she's earned the right. She knows how the platforms work and she's earned the right to sell to the businesses that she has. And I'll be talking to you about this a lot throughout this session because it's crucial that you understand it. We've got to take the time to work out where some gaps might be, whether that is in your own brand, your business's brand, whether that is from the website that you're building, whether that's from the content that you're creating, the lead magnets that you're offering, the workshops that you run. There will be a gap that you can fill. But you've got to really identify what that is so you can take advantage of it. And this is before you even touch social. This is a bit of research. And if you don't know the answer to this, I implore you to find someone who can help you figure it out. Because sometimes, and I don't know, again, if anyone can relate to this, but I struggle with this myself. I am great at giving advice to other people. I find it really difficult to look at my own business and work out what changes I need to make. Does anyone else do that? Find it easy to give advice to other people, but actually for your own stuff, you're like, actually, I don't really know what to change. And I'm meant to be an expert in this, right? This is a thing that people, again, don't talk about. And therefore, when they sit there struggling for answers, I'm like, just do what I did. Just go and ask for help. Just go and ask someone to give you some advice. People will do a lot for you if you just ask. And I was afraid to ask at the beginning. I'm not afraid to ask anymore. I'll ask for lots of different things. But your identity is really important. When you understand why someone should follow you, you can then start building that correct audience. You can then start building the right audience online. I'm hoping this is all making sense so far. But my big thing here comes back to the way that you're building your audience. Out of interest, there were lots of you on here that said that you were building your networks up, going out and connecting with people. Am I right in thinking you're connecting with ideal clients? Just give me a yes in the chat if that's true. Are you connecting with people that potentially could become customers in the future? A couple of yeses coming through. Okay, so there's a few people that are saying, yeah, trying to in the same way. Patricia, you've said no. Out of interest, who are you trying to connect with? I'm curious to know who you're trying to connect with. Anita, the same. For anyone that's saying no, I'd love to know who it is that you're trying to connect with, because actually that's my answer as well. I'm not trying to connect with people that are my dream clients, because actually they're not always actually on the platform, are they? Directors of companies aren't always on LinkedIn, and they're definitely not trying to respond to messages that I might be sending or reading my content. They might, not all of them anyway. Some of them might be. And so what I'm looking at here is, how do I position myself on LinkedIn as somebody worth following? And therefore, the way that I change my network building strategy is rather than just connecting with ideal clients, I want to, one, make sure that who I'm connecting with is active. So I go onto their profile and I check to make sure that they've been on the platform. So if you go onto someone's LinkedIn profile, click into it and go onto their activity, you can see whether they've posted, whether they've commented in the last, I look at it normally the last couple of weeks. If they haven't commented in the last couple of weeks, I typically don't connect with them because they're not going to be on the platform enough for me to be able to get their attention. So that becomes a bit of a filter that I use. And therefore, what happens is I end up connecting with not just people that look like my ideal clients, but I also want people that are going to engage with my content. Because, again, this is really important to reflect on. Is anybody posting out there right now? And you don't need to send this to everyone right now. But is anyone posting out there and getting frustrated at their engagement at the moment? If you're kind of honest enough to be able to do it, just give me a yes. Sorry for this is just feedback for me, so I know where to really focus in on, right? Engagement is low on content. But that is because if you think about the way that these platforms work, when you connect with an ideal client, your ideal client, I don't know what everyone does here. I saw Joseph's on here, right? I know Joseph is a very, very talented kind of clothes, gives advice on clothing and what you wear and fashion. I've spoken to you a couple of times, Joseph, right? Image consultant, that's the way to say it. Perfect. Now, not everybody is on LinkedIn, right? Especially not the ideal clients for image consultancy advice. That's not why they're on there. What they're on social media for typically is for their own selfish interests or because they're bored. And so the content that you've got to start sharing is stuff that is going to generate conversation. It's going to generate opinion. But therefore, what you've got to make sure that you do is connect with people that are going to be interested in what you've got to say. And this is why people's engagement levels are on the floor. It's because they're connecting with people that aren't on the platform to read or watch or agree with what they're trying to say. And Martin's putting here, fed up with people posting crap and getting tons of engagement, and quality content gets low engagement. So am I. What you need to realize, though, Martin, is the people that are getting huge levels of engagement, and this is what drives me nuts, is that, again, they're in engagement groups, right? They're paying to be able to get people to engage on their content. And therefore, I need you to hear this now. Posting content on LinkedIn cannot be and should not be where the majority of your time goes when it comes to your LinkedIn activity, because you're going to get drowned out and you won't be able to get the attention. There is a different way to do it. And this is the way that I've built this business. This is the exact same way that I'm going to be, I'm sharing that with you as I'm going along in this session today anyway. But people spend out of interest, how long does it take you to create a piece of content on LinkedIn? Just give me an estimation of time, how long it takes. It can take me sometimes up to an hour to figure out what to post, right? Even when I'm creative, the quickest I can do it is 5 to 10 minutes, pretty quick. Some people, it takes them ages. And therefore, then they're posting maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. Some people will put the effort in to do it every single day, but still get nothing. And I'm like, well, what else are you doing to be able to get your target market's attention? Well, I may be sending the odd message. I'm going to networking. There's nothing there that really positions you. And I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but the moment I started to utilize my LinkedIn account to share my opinions on topics around my industry and connected with people that are also in my industry, my engagement went up. And what happens is the way that these algorithms work is, unfortunately, if your post only gets 3 to 4 reactions, the majority of people are going to scroll right past it and not see it. If your post gets 100 to 200, you're going to start to get some attention. And this is just, unfortunately, a vanity metric game and a visibility game that you can win if you understand how to play it properly. The starting point for it, though, is to understand that posting content alone is not the answer. You need to do it, but it's not the thing that you need to be spending all your time on, especially not on LinkedIn. But 2, you need to be building your audience up in the right way. You start building it up with active and interested people, you're going to give yourself a chance. And this is all I've done, right? And when I started to do this properly, with then the right direct messaging approach, and people hate direct messaging, I hate receiving them. However, my direct messaging game is extremely strong, and it drives a lot of people to positioning pieces of content that drives more leads to us. That process, that predictable process, which I'll share with you, you do that properly, the revenue amount goes up alongside with it. And this is the big realization for it. So many people that we're speaking to, right, are just not doing enough of the right things. And when you start to do it properly and you line it up with the right offer, that's where this all starts to click into place. Most people online, again, from the amount of people that I've spoken to, even just the last couple of months, are trying to sell to people that they hadn't yet earned the right to sell to. And this is what I did at the beginning. I had a property business at the beginning. I had 0 followers, 0 connections, 0 credibility, 0 experience, and I wanted to start an Airbnb business. I had this dream of running a hotels, and it obviously hasn't ended up being the way that it was. But to be able to build up that credibility, I went networking, right? Every single person I met at a networking event, I got them to follow me on Instagram and then LinkedIn, built up my audience. I then started to go out there and network further. I then crafted an offer that actually these people, and I was looking for investment for that property company, and I built up my network. I positioned myself properly with the right offer, and suddenly people wanted to work with me, right? Before that, I was trying to sell to people that didn't just see my service as a priority, right? This was the same with my second business. I did the same thing. I had an Instagram company, which I built up a following in property on Instagram, and people then asked me, how did I do it? So I then built up an offering, which was a 2-day course and an agency service, right? That was what I did. And I was trying to sell things that people just didn't want. And I was ignoring the opportunity that was right in front of me. Right? There's so much opportunity, but I was outpricing people, like I was too expensive. I was framing things in ways that people didn't want them. And I ended up getting loads of different objections, things like, I can't afford it, I don't have the time, like it's just not for me. Like all of these things. And I was like, I'm getting all of these conversations, but nobody wants to work with me. And it was this bit of work here that really made a difference. And you can take a screenshot of this and you can go through it, right? But this triangle here, I talk about with every single one of my customers at this current point in time, because it's important. On the left-hand side of that triangle, you've got high demand, right? So your offer needs to be something that people want, right? You've got to make sure your offer is something that people want. It's got to be framed in the way that people want it. I'll give you an example of that very shortly. It also needs to be something where you're targeting the best audience for it. So best is best audience, the best people that need what it is that you've got to sell. And so many people focus in on and think that if they just get the right offer and the right audience, that eventually people will just buy. The issue is that people don't spend enough time at the top of the triangle, which is around your positioning. When I started my Instagram company, which was the second business that I had, I'd already built a following of 30,000 people. So the audience had grown to, I think it was around 25,000 or whatever it was at the time. And I had an audience that were asking me, how did I go about doing it? So I created a high demand offer of how to create 1,000 followers or generate 1,000 followers in 30 days. And you can see now that I created the perfect triangle, right? Very, very simple. I had an audience, I had an offer that people wanted, but I'd positioned myself as to actually the person that could solve that problem because I'd already done it. And this is a big thing because it wasn't always like that. I had an Instagram agency and I also had a 2-day course, like I mentioned. And I remember joining a mastermind in November 2019. It cost an absolute fortune, like 15 grand or something. I stuck it on a credit card because it's just what it was back then. I don't know if has anyone else spent a fortune on training in the past? Give me a yes. If you're in the club of spending absolutely shed loads of amount on education and masterminds and all these things. I've definitely been one of them, like stupid amounts, and been extremely frustrated with it. However, I used to run these courses on the right-hand side, you can see here. And on those courses, you can actually see Sam in there. Me and Sam weren't business partners then. Sam came along to help me out. I gave her a free ticket and she came along. But I used to try so hard to sell those 2-day courses. I was trying to sell something that people just didn't want, right? I love delivering them, but people just didn't want to sit in a room for 2 days learning about Instagram. And I was getting to the point where I just hated doing the marketing and the selling of it. It felt like such a slog. Like I used to speak to so many people and them not buy. And I'm like, well, this is ridiculous because what I do is actually pretty good. Like the training is like really helpful if people just implemented it. But people weren't buying it. I was selling it for I think 500 quid at the time. And I remember sitting down, we were in the Grosvenor Hotel in London. Me and Nick sat down. He was like, well, why don't you just change it? Like people obviously aren't wanting 2-day Instagram training. So why don't you switch it up to something? And to be honest, I was a little bit unsure, but if you look at the date, you can see that in March 2020, something happened in the world. and it shifted it. So I couldn't run in-person events anymore. I don't know if anyone else like went through this thing, but I went from running in-person events to then running online. And I switched it. I switched an Instagram 2-day course. It was the exact same content, but I broke it down and named it How to Gain 1,000 Followers in 30 Days. I mean, can you see here? I mean, I'm not going crazy, but just give me a yes if you can see this. Can you see the difference? Just by changing the name of it, how it suddenly makes it more appealing. Like How to Gain 1,000 Followers over a 2-day Instagram trip. Just changing the name, right? I did 1 month of selling this, and I did more in sales that month just selling that product than I did selling 2 days of Instagram training for about 6 to 12 months or whatever it was. Like I did more revenue in it, like it wasn't even a month. This is the ridiculous nature of how simple changes can make a huge difference. And like this all comes down to looking at your whole business model. And I'm curious, who here currently pays for premium, LinkedIn premium or sales now at the moment? Who's currently paying for it? I've stopped currently. I'm curious to know though, who's currently paying for it. Loads of people that end up using it. Some people do, some people don't, right? I'm not a massive fan of it. I don't really use it, right? But people are running Facebook ads. People are spending loads of time. People are spending money on tech and tools and all these different things. But none of it is actually worth the money that you're spending until you've got the right message and the audience and the offer aligned, right? So my biggest piece of advice is please stop spending money on things before you've got this stuff right. Really, really, like, because the platforms, when you understand how they work and you understand your offer and your target market and how to position yourself properly, you can then clearly demonstrate why working with your business is a no-brainer. And this can be to strangers who then go to buy from you. The reality is that most people don't do this, and therefore like they just waste so much. And today, like I'm going to give, I think it's like 20 spots available in my calendar. The QR code is there for you to be able to scan. Totally free, no obligation to do anything, just to come and have a conversation around the things that you may be doing wrong, and then the corrections that you can make to start seeing like some positive results again. And it's a 30-minute session, it's completely free. And with that, we will talk about, I'm going to be doing them over like today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think, like that. You will see my calendar link, they're there. Please like fill out the questions like as much as you can. Help me with the information that's there. The QR code isn't working. That's really, really helpful. What I'll do then, if I do this, social selling. Thank you very much for that, Graham. If I do this, that link is there. The QR code, I'm hoping on the next slide will work, but I'm going to move into Connect. But that can everyone still see the QR code in the top right-hand corner? That link is still there, and it should work for you if you want to book in one of those calls. But those calls, again, I speak to so many businesses about this stuff. And like I say, I run these workshops to help. I will talk to you about how we may be able to work with each other afterwards as well. But again, the QR code is there if you want to book one of those calls in. But clarity is all about understanding about the stuff that you need to do before you start utilizing and seeing results on social. And then you can move into the utilization of LinkedIn to not just generate results on the platform, but also promote your webinars and workshops as well. For those of you that want to know more about workshops and webinars, that call booking link there, I will talk to you more about those in even more detail as well. But prospecting, which is network building and your outreach, is something which anybody on LinkedIn can do. And you all need to be doing it. I'm curious though, how many of you are sending direct messages right now on LinkedIn? Just give me a yes if you are, no if you're not. I want to know what the split is. We currently have 62 people that are online, and it seems to be that we've got quite a few more no's than normal, actually. Normally it's about a 50-50 split. This isn't a 50-50 split at all. So if I was to tell you that 80%, probably over that at the moment, 80% of our leads come from direct messaging, would that surprise you? I wonder if that was like, let me know if that surprises you. 80% of our opportunity comes from direct messaging, right? It's a big, like for me, for those of you that are saying no, like this is what you need to start doing. Like it is huge, because most people think that direct messaging is spam, don't they? Right? Like who's like, people are fed up of spam messages being pounded in their inbox. However, if I'm going to show you something in a second that will show you my response rate, but I've already mentioned about building your profiles with the right people, right? How to get people interested. I've mentioned about that. We're all receiving spam, right? All receiving cold calling like that in the exact same way. And I found that most people are sending them without any real thought. And I'm so fascinated, Yvonne. That is mind-blowing to me. Can you see my example on the right-hand side there, guys, by the way? Can you see it? I don't know if you can read it, but can you see? I'm gonna read it to you if you can't, but can you give me a yes if you can see that image on the right-hand side? I'm gonna read it to you, right? It's, hi, Michelle. Great to connect. I just thought I'd send a message over to say hello with no expectation of any response, as I know your inbox is most likely rammed with people sending pointless sales messages. So I'll get straight to the point. We try to add as much value as possible to anyone we connect with. And with that in mind, 3 links I thought would help if social media / digital marketing is something you use for your business. One is a complete guide to social selling. The next is 100 different content ideas. And the third is a 60-minute digital marketing masterclass. Out of interest, by the way, if anybody wants the 100 content ideas, put the number 100 in the chat. If you want the guide, put the word guide in the chat. And if you want the masterclass, well, you're on the masterclass, so you don't really need to say that. But if you want the 100 content ideas, put 100 in. If you want the guide, put the guide in, and you come through. That is the message that goes out on my account. Now, I send loads of different messages, right? Loads and loads and loads and loads and loads. But that is one at the moment that is working beautifully. And most people, when they send messages, are trying to start conversations, which you can do. There's ways to do it. But even if you're just building your email list up, you're going to see a huge opportunity here. Now, not everybody sent the message to everyone here, but can you see how many people have messaged saying 100 and guide? Just give me a yes if you can see the amount of people that have just said yes, please to it. The reason why that message works so well is because what I'm giving away, everybody wants. And this is the big thing when it comes to direct messaging. I have around about 30 to 50 people that join our list every single couple of days as a minimum. And it's because what I'm giving away is valuable, right? I've sold those 2 things in the past. And what I'm finding is that people, again, just don't know the behavior to have online. It's actually in the same thing that you do offline. When I go to a networking event or I go to public speak somewhere or go on a podcast, I'm going to give away as much value as I possibly can so people understand or realize that I'm actually not bad at what I do. And you will all be in the same position. There will be stuff that you can do, stuff that you can say that can get the responses that you're after. And that's why we get such a huge, huge response rate. And I'm going to ask a question now. Actually, I'll save it to later on because it's really important. I'll save it to later on. But the one thing that remains the same with all of this is that to get this to work, and again, this is what these calls are for, by the way. So if you've not booked a call in, this stuff is hitting home for you, get that call booked in because we can talk through it. But you need to understand how to nurture, how to have online conversations. I've just talking to a lady about this just before this call. I'm currently spending a lot of time in Perth, Australia, where I'm living here for the next 6 to 7 months. And when you move to a new place, you've got to go out there and meet people. It's really difficult when you've got no friends in a place, right? And so what I've done is I've gone out and joined a load of different Facebook groups, and I've randomly messaged people that just introduce myself and start conversations with them. Some people I've sent voice notes to, some people I've sent written messages to. And do you know what? I've had great responses back because I'm acting like a human on the other end of a social media platform. That's something that I've done in my personal life. It's something that I do in my business life. But for some reason, people, whenever they send a message, they become ridiculously robotic and they're trying to speak to the king. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, what are you doing? This is not that difficult. We just need to understand how to get those people to respond. What is it that they want? Why would they respond to you? What's the next step when they do? And when you do, you can see the responses that I get, right? Hi, Chris, hope you're well. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chris. Great to connect. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Hi, Chris. Do you want to know the most amazing thing with this is? It's all automated, right? I don't even send them. This is automated via, a system that we use, a system that we recommend, a system that we train on. They are sent on our behalf, and my list grows every single day because of the system. Again, with it, something that we teach in the exact same way. And then when you start those conversations, you can do like our old sales manager did, Leanne. Leanne then had video messages that she sent. She sent voice notes, she sent written messages. But those messages then generated great conversation. They then started conversations that led to £10,000, £40,000. I think our largest sale was Sam's one with a company called Brother, 6-figure contract. It doesn't matter what you're selling, as long as you understand how to communicate. And this is, again, something that we can discuss on one of those calls if you want to discuss them with me. But with this, we can then move on to, is everything making sense, by the way, before I quickly move on? Everything making sense so far? There's nothing too complicated right now. Everything making good. It is. Excellent. Good stuff. So simple stuff. Now we move on to engaging. So one of you mentioned that you're posting content and you're engaging, something that you've been told to do on a mastermind. I'm not here to tell you the mastermind that you've done is wrong or it's bad or anything, but I completely and utterly disagree. And for me, if you're not getting results right now, I'd be looking to try and do something a bit differently rather than waiting for business. It's about going out there and getting it. Because trust me, it's business to be got. You've just got to understand how to do it. Now, engaging is like networking, I find, right? I don't do it very much. I don't do it a huge amount right now, but I do recommend people that are getting started on the platform to do it. Right? I treat it as a way to be able to get someone's attention, because what's the one thing that everyone wants when their post goes live is they want someone to comment on it. So 5 to 10 minutes a day. Normally, before my post goes live, I will go out there and leave some comments. I also make sure that I respond to every single one of mine. I posted whilst I was on holiday a couple of days ago. I need to go back to my comments, right? But I will create a core list of target clients that I know are active on the platform, and I make sure that I go and engage with them whenever they post, because that's how I'm going to get their attention. Everybody wants it. Yvonne has said, I'm going to start sending DMs, no harm in trying something different. Great stuff. Sophie says, I used to use Lidoku for automation, then stop. Which one do you use? The name of it, I have a link that I sent. I can't remember the name of it specifically, but Sophie, if you ask in the community, Elise will send it to you in terms of the bit of automation. So there's training on it in the academy for you to be able to go through and use as well. But when it comes to engaging, 5 to 10 minutes a day, nothing more, nothing less, just get it done. Then we move on to content, which is the thing that most people really want to know the answer to. Like, what should I be posting? Some people tell me to document my journey. Some people tell me to share my wins. The problem is with the basic advice on social is that content creation, the success is different for everyone. Erica, yes, I do. That is correct. And to be able to drive your impressions up, it depends on your target market. So like, my followers have been built up predominantly from people that want social media advice, actually, because it's biased, because I'm a social media person that's training on social media, and therefore it's what people would follow me for. But I also have other things I'm interested in. Like, I talk a lot about anti-bullying online. I talk a lot about addiction online. I talk a lot about mental health online, because actually I don't utilize my content just to generate leads. I do it because I enjoy writing and I enjoy sharing of stuff, and people follow me for lots of different reasons. I have one rule of thumb when it comes to kind of like my own journey on social, is that I just want more and more people to know what it is that I do. That is it. And my content there is to basically generate as many impressions as I possibly can, because the more impressions I get, the more followers I then get, and then the more messages then get sent. The right people will find their way to you if you have the right process. This is the whole thing that I'm talking about now when it comes through. And if you're not seeing the people come to you that you want, start thinking about how you can go after them, because your content is about, again, gaining you followers. It's about gaining you attention, showcasing who you are, the credibility piece. And some of our customers, I asked them, and this was last month actually, to send me their 365-day impressions, because I wanted to see the growth when they started working with us. And the growth is quite significant across them all. I think that's my stats there actually, but it's consistently going up, and you can see different spikes as we progress through. The content game is relatively easy, and this is without using engagement groups, this is just understanding what makes people react. And some people don't like doing this, which is fine. There are different ways for you to be able to get results. But content is a way to position yourself. And positioning is a bit that so many people just do not talk about. This webinar that you're on now is a way for me to position myself. Like, I'm here talking about the stuff, showcasing what I know. There are still 60 people-ish online. It keeps rotating from like 59 to 65 and going up and down. That's actually quite a low turnout for us. Normally we have just under 100 minimum, like, turning up to these things. But I run one of these every single month. It goes on my YouTube channel, gets 1,000 views, and therefore the content compounds over time. I've trained myself to run videos like this. I never used to do this. I now enjoy doing these. I love talking to you guys. I find it weird talking to a chat box, but for some reason now I've got used to it and can enjoy doing it. But like, this is the sort of content that I post. I'm a little bit sarcastic. I talk about the charity work that we do. An engagement group, DO, sorry, it doesn't have your full name on there, is where you pay a bit of software. There's loads of them out there. You can type in engagement pod LinkedIn, and it's AI, it's automated, but basically people engage on your account, you engage on theirs, and it basically tricks the algorithm, pushes your content further. It goes against LinkedIn's term of service, which is why I don't use it. I also found that it killed my account when I stopped using it. It took me a while to build up. But you can see from mine, I talk a lot about kind of like the experiences that I have in life. I talk about my business growth. I talk about the success. I talk about funny things. I talk about anything that comes to my mind, because actually it doesn't really matter. It sounds ridiculous, right? Coming from someone that's talks about social media and saying that content doesn't really matter. It's because it's not the only thing that's going to generate your business. It's one thing. When you start actually understanding the different things that you can plug in that's going to save you time, that's where you can start to see these results. But for those of you that want to know the content that works, that's the content that works for me. And someone's just put there consistency. Consistency doing the right thing, yes. What I'm finding is that consistency, people are doing the wrong things consistently and then waiting for things to change. And that for me just doesn't work. For me, like one post can make the difference. And you can see here from what Philippa put, right? Philippa put here 500,000 people this post reached, I think, in the end. And she went from 7,000 followers to 7,605 days, 32 messages of people wanting to work with her. That's from understanding how the algorithm works. Some of the things that I'm speaking about on those calls with people, like I think lots of them have already gone actually. But if you still want to book one in, the QR code's there. But like I have people messaging all the time about this. My fiance Zoe has done this on her own account. And this is a big thing. Right? Someone told me in my last webinar, this made a big thing for them. Zoe has can you see here, 900 followers on her account. Out of interest, how many impressions do you typically get on a post? Give me the normal number of impressions you'll get on a post typically. Most people say that you need a big audience on LinkedIn to be able to work. Zoe's got 900 followers, right? And I'm seeing here some numbers coming through. Some people 400, 150, 200, 300. Zoe was able to reach 133,000 people when she was active on the platform doing the right things every single day. So if you're only getting 200, 300, you're doing something wrong. And I don't mean to sound horrible, but if you're not getting at least 1,000 impressions on a post, you need to change your content approach. Because 1,000 people, like even on an account that's got 900 followers, should be the minimum that you're getting. Minimum, right? Like this isn't that difficult to do. Like there is opportunity for absolutely everybody to be able to do this. But the opportunity is understanding what makes these platforms tick. And when you start posting the right content with the right level of positioning, you can see from Zoe's message here, just watch a short video. I'm intrigued to know more. I've considerable experience with dogs and considering investment opportunities. These messages come when you start understanding that your offer and the audience and the positioning all clicks into place, and your audience size doesn't need to be in the tens of thousands. But it is about understanding the behavior of these platforms and what makes it work. And then when you get this right, it changes everything. Matt Fletcher has now got 30,000 followers, 127,000 views on that post that he got. He worked with Sam a few years ago, and this was the message that he sent to her afterwards. Taken on 18 new customers this month. All have come from LinkedIn. The first peak was that post at 129,000 views. This stuff is just about getting your process in place and having the right plan of attack, because then you can start looking at the conversions. And this is where webinars come in. Like webinars, I utilize LinkedIn events to be able to fill them, and also my email list. Curious to know, really important question. This webinar today, how did you learn about it? How did you find out about it? Was it through LinkedIn or was it an email? Let me know, which one was it, LinkedIn or email in the chat? Really important. I can get as many of you to answer as possible right now. LinkedIn or email? Right, for those of you that actually, majority of people are saying that V said Zoe. Lovely, good to see you, V. But we've got from Sam, email, LinkedIn, a couple of LinkedIn's coming through. Just give me a yes in the chat. Can you see how many people have said email in the list? Just give me a yes if you can see this. Just see in the chat how many emails are coming through, right? I cannot emphasize enough the importance of your email list when it comes to a webinar strategy. What I find is most people, again, are on LinkedIn and are being reactive, waiting for it, or they're on it, but not understanding how to turn these people into opportunities, generate the sales for themselves. Right? Self-awareness at this point is critical. And if you need help, I'm offering these calls for a reason. So please make sure that you book them in. I can't offer them all the time. I open my diary up periodically throughout the month to be able to do it. But the biggest reason why most people struggle is because their customers aren't on social media to buy things. Most are trying to sell too much. And this is where your marketing and sales process comes in. If you want to book a call in, I'm going to pop the link there. That QR code in the top right corner should take you there. But otherwise, that's the link there. But with this, you need to showcase on your social media profiles what your business does and also your views on the world, because that's how you're going to get the exposure. You then create a direct messaging process that drives people to your webinars, right? To your workshops, to any other pieces of value that you're going to add. And when you do this, that's where the results like this come through. Love the webinar, signed up. That was in 2 hours of a direct messaging conversation. Bang, it works. And this is the process that, again, this is something that I can't go into too much detail now, purely because of the time. I've only got 5 minutes to get through this, right? But you can see here this process. This is our webinar campaign. I will send a recording out for this so you can see it and you can pause. But our webinar campaigns are promoted majority from our email list. I've just cleaned our email list now. It's now down to, I think, about 8,500 people. But that's been built over time. And I'm now no longer at a mercy of an algorithm to be seen. My email, as you can see here from the question I asked you before, the majority of people, 85% of our webinar registrations come from our email list. So if you've not got one, this is the big part of what the strategy is that I'll talk to you about on that call. It's about how to book in and build up your email list, because that is how you're going to move people from social media, add value, get them to your email list, add more value to the point where they book a call or they buy from you. And again, with it, this is the process that we teach people, right? This is how we work through. Emma, even when people sign up to my email list, the spam filters are blocking my emails. I'd have a look at your email system you're using, Emma. Big question on that. Again, something that I speak to a lot of people about anyway. So again, if you've not booked a call in, book one in and we can speak through it. But again, here you can see this is the process that we teach inside of our academy. LinkedIn Organic is one. We use lead magnets to build our list up. We run webinars to then convert. And then we run calls at the end to see whether we can do any business with people. This is what we have to work through with everybody. And then we automate as much of it as we possibly can. Some big pieces of advice, especially when it comes to webinars and workshops, are this is not about adding huge amounts of value with webinars, right? If you're going to run one, it's about waking your prospects up to the feeling that they need to work with you. It's about getting them onto a call and having conversations. Some people you'll be able to work with, some people you won't. But selling to people that don't already know who you are is a process. If you're already just relying on referrals and recommendations, that's fine. But if you want to sell to people that are strangers and grow, you need to have a process that works for you. And this is exactly what we did. This is an example with George. George ran webinars. You can go and check George out on LinkedIn. He's absolutely killing it right now. And with it, he raised investment and he generated sales in the same way. Again, I don't spend loads of time talking about our testimonials because they're everywhere online. Just go and look at my LinkedIn profile and scroll down, you'll see them. But when it comes to social, what I need you to realize is this isn't actually like rocket science. It just requires a little bit of effort and a bit of detail in the right places. And if you need help with this, this is what I want to talk to you about just briefly, is the way in which we work with people. It's called the Social Selling Academy. It's 4 parts: training, mentoring, accountability, and then technology. Okay, and again, I've talked to you about this on the calls if you want to learn more about it. But we do group mentoring, we do one-to-one support, and we have technology that supports our training. Our training takes you through this process. So we teach you on all the different social media platforms. We teach you about lead magnets and how to take control. We teach you about your offer, how to create an offer, how to build an audience from scratch, how to then convert that business through webinars, sales calls, audits, like videos. We talk you how to close, so whether it's an order form, all the technology that supports it, we will either teach it to you or provide you it. We then teach you how to scale. So we are like a business growth program more than anything. So it's all about growing your business, making your first 10 grand, then your 100 grand, then your mil, depending on what size of business that you are. We also run in-person events. So again, every quarter we run an event. There is one in Birmingham in December. That again, as a pro member, as a part of this, you get to join, right? So this isn't something that you can buy. If you book in one of those calls, we have to make sure that we're the right fit. So if you just scan the QR code or go to that link, you can book a call in to discuss it. Again, with it, like people love the in-person sessions. We're not just online, we're in person. And you can see here all the different bits of training that we offer, from product and market to marketing to sales to delivery. Like we have 30-day plans that we take you through. And again, we give you then feedback on all the work that you do. So whether it's websites, your webinars, your emails, your content, anything that you send to us, we will give you feedback on, review your work and tell you what you've done well, where you need to improve and what you need to do. We generate loads of results because we're a very diverse team. And again, I'm not going to read it all out, but we all specialize in different things. We track your objectives, we set your targets, and then we work together to achieve them. That is the big bit with all of this. What I need people to do and what I'm looking for, I can only work with around about 10 people each time that I take people on. And I think I say that in coming up, I take on 10 different people. And I'm looking for people that are willing to listen and willing to apply the stuff that I tell them to do. I'm not looking for mavericks. And I need to really emphasize that. I want people that are going to be open to adapt and try exactly what it is that we prescribe to you. Because the results literally speak for themselves with this stuff. And again, like the one-to-one calls are where we review your work. So it could be with me, it could be one of my team. Again, we do one-to-one calls. We typically have them, whether it's once a week, once every couple of weeks. It's all about reviewing your work and making sure that you're doing the right things. We will give you the advice that you need and tell you where you've gone wrong and what you need to do right. This isn't just coaching. This is about getting you to move forward. We have group sessions every Monday at 12 p.m., every Thursday at 2 p.m. They're recorded, so you can go back. And again, the biggest thing here, I've used Piers' thing because it's the one that literally came in a few days ago. But the big thing here, like you can see of this, 33 have either become billable clients or have stated that they're going to add their services to you. Like this was in like 45 days, like of working with us, a month and a half. And the results that he's getting just from following the plan, right? Melissa just sent one email out, right? One email framed in the right way, 181 clicks, 6 sales of my product. This is where the opportunity comes. This is about process and understanding the importance of social media marketing, email marketing, and then having something that's going to convert. We also then have the technology, which again, if you're spending £100 to £200 on CRMs, email marketing, we have built this and it's all part of it. It's part of our own system that we have developed. So I work with people, the team work with people for 6 months as a minimum. And again, with it, 6 months experience on this. I'm not going to go into loads of different detail on it because of time, but it's 500 quid a month for the 6 months. So again, with it, after the 6 months, it becomes a monthly rolling subscription. And with it, you have an opportunity then to also speak with me at the front end where we have 30 minutes talking about your strategy. So I'm not going to spend loads of time on that. For me, if you're wanting the one-to-one help, the accountability to get things done, if you want to know, have a plan in place that you know is going to work, this is for you. If you've already got that in place, it's not. I don't spend too much time pitching this. Like if you book a call in, we'll talk about it if you want to. If you don't, that's also totally fine. So that is it for today. I'm bang on like 1 minute afterwards. So I've run over by a minute. If anyone has any questions, I will definitely answer them for you. But just give me a yeah. Was that been helpful? A few of you have said great session already. Has that been helpful for you? Has that given you some insight? Really thought-provoking. Good. That's what I like to hear. My biggest thing for this session, obviously, I know I've just spoke for 10 minutes around what we do, but it's to help you realize the things that you need to change. That's what I wanted to do today, and I'm hoping I've done that. So thank you very, very much. Can you send offer through? Thanks. Yes, Emil, no worries at all. Have you booked a call in, Emil? Let me know. Have you booked a call in? That's the most important. If you have, then we can talk about it on that. If you haven't, drop me a direct message on LinkedIn. Just drop me a direct message and we can book through. Send me a connection request if you haven't already. I'll accept it straight away. But yeah, that's really all I've got to offer you today. Again, with it, the recording will be live within 24 hours time. For those of you that have booked your call, I look forward to speaking to you. I have no idea how many are left. But with it, looking forward to speaking to you, whether it is tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday. Have an amazing day, evening, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you very much, and goodbye.